What's going on, all you technology enthusiasts? Your two favorite phone critics are back tonight to review the brand new film starring Glenn Howerton of It's Always Sunny fame and Jay Baruchel, who we haven't seen in a while. This is the movie that covers the meteoric rise and fall of the first smartphone. We're talking about BlackBerry.
On these networks, they're going to crash. Is this legal? You need to sell 1,000,000 Blackberries. And you're calling it a smartphone. In the middle of a hostile takeover!
Do you know what the sentence is for multi-million-dollar stock fraud?
What are you doing? I'm doing it all. You guys have no idea how to run a company. What's happening, man? I created this entire market. You said they were the best engineers in the world. I said they're the best engineers in Canada.
Young people out there, the BlackBerry was like really the first smartphone. I was the only one of my group of friends that had one, and I was really in love with it. Never had any problems with it. It was a great phone until the bigger companies like Apple came around, iPhone, and then you got all the droids now that are really taking the market, really taking for cell phones. You don't hear about the BlackBerry anymore. This is a story of what happened to that company exactly. A really intriguing, interesting story of a company based out of Canada. RIM, they're called, and they're building this perfect, phone, first ever phone that you could have email, you can text, have the internet on it, everything. You can do it all directly from your hand, and that was the whole point of removing like a fax machine and a computer and all that stuff. You just put it all in compact, little system right in your hand, and it really dives into that. The startup of the company with Jay Baruchel's character, then with the introduction to Glenn Howerton.
Jay Baruchel as Mike, and then his buddy Doug. They have this group that are working together, and once they get the idea for this phone, it really launches them into the stratosphere. They get this crazy idea. They need to combine everything into one, and it shows them pitching it, the idea, even before they have it, actually made. And it was also cool to see them actually, getting all the parts from various other, technology phones, speak and spells, Ataris, all the parts, and trying to figure out how to put them all together to make this device that would change the world essentially. And once they're able to do this and come up with this great concept, the first thing to kind of figure out was, what are we going to call it? Because you need a great name for everything. And not only do you need a great name for your product, but you really need somebody that's going to be able to pitch this and sell this product. And that's where we meet Jim, played by Glenn Howerton there, with a nice horseshoe bald head. He's playing this, character that has, experience as a CEO. He can bust asses and, fire people and really pitch things when needed. And when he comes into this, into the picture there with Mike and Doug, he's able to, take this idea really and really, form it and go to the big board meetings, pitch it to these other companies, and really grow the brand. And essentially, he helps also name it BlackBerry too, which is an iconic name that we all know now. And this movie really covers from the very first time BlackBerry was introduced on a limited network, and then as it grows and is able to launch into the whole world, and it just takes over the market.
Yeah, it starts from a small company of hundreds of units to millions and millions of units globally. Big contracts, customers. Verizon was one towards the end. I mean, they had big deals, but it all kind of crumbles and falls apart, implodes essentially between these two characters behind me, Mike and Jim. They tag team the co-CEO role, so they're running it where Mike is more of like the engineer. He built it. He understands the components, all the hardware, and the other guy, Jim, is a CEO. He knows how to sell. He knows how to get it out there, which Mike lacks. So it really worked, even though they're completely different personalities and individuals. They work together, and then eventually it doesn't really work out with these guys.
Yeah, this movie felt a lot like watching the movie, like the Apple movie, the several different Steve Jobs movies that we've seen, the one with Ashton Kutcher, the one with Seth Rogen, those movies, about getting the team together, putting that brain power together, and, coming up with the concepts and everything, and watching it grow from its infancy and then see it to where it ends up in this, fully formed idea and into the multi-million dollar, billion-dollar company that it's turned into. And also seeing everybody that they worked with and their passions, their what they did for fun, which, is just like me and you. They played video games. They were much, they were in touch with the movie industry. They were watching Spielberg movies there on the job to get inspiration, listening to the music of the times. And they really show that in this movie. And, with all of that going on too, this movie felt, fun and exciting. You were there with the team as they really turned this idea, and they really, made something special here. And you get to watch all that, and then you get to watch it all, go kaput when Steve Jobs came up with the very first iPhone.
Yeah, and all it kind of falls apart. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it all starts, right? The small company of geeks, like you were saying, just hanging out, playing games, watching movies, and trying to think of the next best thing, and bringing all the best engineers in Canada together and brainstorming and coming up with this really great concept, and where it grows and becomes over the years. Eventually it kind of destroys Mike too. He was a very laid back kind of engineer guy that was friends with everybody and became this big corporate CEO and turned into an asshole. And then Doug eventually is like, kind of screw you, and Doug goes on his own way, and he was really one of the founders of the company. And you find out later after the film that Doug was one of the quietest, richest men in the world. Because he was a shareholder and sold it. And back when the company was doing really well in 2007, was like the big year for the phone. So it's cool. It's a cool, great story. I didn't know anything about this. I just knew it was a great product back then, a great phone, and it's really interesting drama and seeing how it all kind of falls apart.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I'd heard that Glenn Howerton was going to be in this film and had seen the pictures of him as this bald guy, had no idea what it was going to be about. And then I heard it was going to be about BlackBerry. And I didn't know too much about the story about how that formed. So I was, interested from the start. And then the cast, Jay Baruchel. And then we saw Michael Ironside in there. Carrie Yules was in there. You see some other faces in there that are familiar. So a lot of talent in this project. And it felt very much like a young filmmaker on the come up, making a film and really putting his all into it. Felt fully formed. Kudos to director Matt Johnson. The movie BlackBerry was based on this book, Losing the Signal. So the writers Jackie McNish, Sean Solkoff, and they really came together to put this movie on screen and really portray the drama, all the intrigue, and all the excitement of this era and time. And I can remember the BlackBerry, with you having the BlackBerry, being one of my first friends to have a smartphone, really having fun with it, being able to send text messages, emails. It felt really cool at the time. And then the iPhone came out, and that's history. It's, the iPhone's been on top ever since.
Now we've iPhone ever since, right?
Yeah. Now we're completely hooked up to Apple. It's taken over, and most people have. Android's big too, but iPhone obviously has the market. So I had a great time with this film. I'm glad I watched it. Out of the Sunny guys, this one was a great performance by Glenn Howerton. He hasn't really done drama before that I've seen him in. He's been in a couple other projects, but this one's really his best role so far. And he really played this character very well. He wasn't a likable guy at all, but he really played the CEO that you believed could, do the actual pitching and work the deals behind the scenes. And then you had Mike, Jay Baruchel. He did a really great job, portraying this kind of geeky guy who was really the brains behind BlackBerry. And then seeing how they both worked together to launch the project. Very interesting and never boring. Had the perfect length, and I liked how they explained what happened to everybody at the end. Very interesting to see, what happened after the cards fell. Some people went to jail over it, and some people, escaped that and got to cash out and go on to do other things. So with that being said, I really enjoyed BlackBerry. You guys can stream it digitally, I believe now it's available. It went to theaters for a while there. So look out for this one. You guys will enjoy this one. I'm going to give BlackBerry a 4 out of 5 Glenn Howerton hairpieces.
The dentist system.
Yes.
He totally went full on Dennis in this movie for sure. A few times,
Right,
like,
yeah.
he's like screaming. It just reminded me of Dennis. But yeah,
Right.
Glenn Howerton, very impressed with his performance. Played it straight, played it dramatic. He was angry a lot. Wasn't really funny. I mean, not a likable guy, and he really pulled that off in Jay Baruchel. Always liked this guy with all the Judd Apatow movies, Seth Rogen movies, the comedies and stuff. He was
Mhm.
a good actor. It's good seeing him back acting again, and really intriguing, compelling story. The rise and fall of BlackBerry and how everything went down. Really great performances here. Michael Ironside. I mean, can't go wrong with that guy. One of my
Yeah.
favorite villains
Yes.
of all the movies.
Yeah.
Always a bad guy. He was fantastic, even as an older gentleman now, and the rest of the cast was great. Directing by Matt Johnson. I love the music, the score, everything back in that day, pop culture and everything, and just really great story. And I highly recommend this movie, so check it out. Streaming right now. So I'm going to give BlackBerry a 4 out of 5 Glenn Howerton hairpieces.
So we want to hear what you guys thought about BlackBerry. Let us know after you guys have watched it in the comment section. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Cinephellas for the latest and greatest in movie and TV news and reviews. Also, check out our social media website, Cinephellas.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
So that about wraps it up in the newest Cinefellas movie review. I'm Glenn Howerton. That's my good mate over there.
And I'm Jay Baruchel. Until the next time, cheese!